As Kenyans brace themselves for yet more demonstrations on Monday, actually a peaceful demonstration on Monday by Azimio, there are some very worrying developments that have taken place in rapid succession over the last few hours. And let's look at the most important and the most impactful going forward. Azimio leader Raila Odinga held a very well attended press briefing yesterday. And in that press briefing, he emphasized that the demonstrations are going to be peaceful, okay, and that Azimio are following the law of the land to the letter. Now, of course, that is a problem for the government, because just put yourself in their shoes. You'd have to look for every possible means you can find, chini ya maji mostly, to stop these demonstrations, yeah, or in some way to frustrate them. And I believe it is at this point that supporters of Azimio were very impatient, who thought Baba had lost it. He didn't seem sure of what he was doing. It is at this point that they must have realized a few things. Okay, let me just highlight them. When something is legal, it is impossible to stop. And when these legal demonstrations are going on and there's no violence, there is really no way to stop them. You can use violence as an excuse, yeah, although that is stretching it, because demonstrations are anchored, demonstrations and protests are anchored in our constitution. Now, if Raila had gone the direction where people wanted him to go, to do things quickly, without organizing himself properly, without organizing the Azimio troops properly, then this thing would have been very easy to stop. Extremely easy. I hope many Azimio supporters and indeed analysts, yeah, many of whom were criticizing Raila, have now seen the smartness of Azimio in all this. Indeed, it seems that we have two governments in Kenya. The government of Kenya, and then we have the government of Azimio. They are super organized. They seem to have their own intelligence service, ambaye ni kali sana, but I'll come back to that in a moment. Now, Raila also brought up the issue of the Communication Commission censoring the local media, yeah, because that's what it is. There's no other English word you can use to describe Ezra Chiloba's statement the other day in warning media houses over the coverage of the protests. And yet again, this is from the KANU playbook. Yeah, you clamp down on the media so that people don't know what's going on. Yeah, and in that way, in darkness, democracy dies, as Raila put it so well during his briefing. Now, since then, a couple of NGOs have come out, yeah, legal experts, and challenged Chiloba, yeah, over what they're trying to do, which is illegal. Yeah, it is outside our constitution. You can't control the media. You can't control what the media covers. A government cannot be the headmaster of what the people will watch or not watch, or what kind of coverage the people will be exposed to or not. A government cannot parent the people of a nation. You know, sometimes a government can be very contradictory. Because, for instance, during the pandemic, we were shown people collapsing on streets. Yeah. Now, which is more alarming? That which we saw then, or the peaceful protests now? Yeah. Where we're seeing clearly where the violence and interruption to cause chaos is coming from. That is so clear. It's coming from the people who are supposed to keep the peace, the police. But the biggest bombshell Raila delivered was when he revealed that according to impeccable sources, verified information. There was a meeting last Tuesday in Rigathi Gachagua's residence in Karen. What was being discussed? How to disrupt the Azimio protests by introducing crude weapons and even arms. The whole idea being to instigate serious violence and then ensure that there are as many deaths as possible. That's what Raila told us. Now, if you've observed carefully, that is one bombshell that the government has not yet found a way to respond to. Instead, they have been busier diverting our attention to other issues, not answering directly to that one. Now, I've said before in a previous video, one of the very few ways of stopping Azimio is finding an excuse from violence during the protests. If there's no violence, if the protesters are peaceful, there's really nothing, no court in the country that can legally stop them. That's really what it is. And so it makes absolute sense that somebody would want, as much as possible, to introduce violence so as to get that excuse. I'm sure you get my gist. Now, one of my followers yesterday was asking me, where does Raila get this information? Where did Raila get this information? And I'm sure that is the question on the minds of many younger Kenyans who don't understand Raila Odinga. You know, in 2017, Raila Odinga shocked those who understand by revealing to us intelligence linked to what the military was supposed to do during the 2017 presidential elections, as part of the wider scheme to rig those elections. Now hold on a minute. How do you get intelligence information that has to do with the military in any country? Extremely difficult. Nearly impossible. Because you're not dealing with civilians. But Raila got it. So Raila has a long track record of getting information that just leaves people wondering, how did he get this information? Maybe I can give you another quick example. There are two brothers. These were people who were brought into the country. And one of them was supposed to get involved. Kumaliza Raila kabisa. The man was an assassin. Raila revealed even the house where the men were staying. So any information that comes from Raila Odinga, if we're to look in the past, is usually 100% correct and accurate. In other words, Raila has never, and I challenge anybody to show me any record that shows otherwise, he has never revealed information that is inaccurate. Never ever. And in this particular instance, Raila named names: Ndindi Nyoro, Kimani Ichung'wah, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. He disclosed where the meeting was held and at around what time. Clearly, the revelation of this information has caught UDA on the wrong footing, completely unaware. And they have taken very many hours looking for the appropriate response. But meanwhile, our attention is being diverted. Oh, Raila this, or Raila that, oh, Raila this, oh, the demonstration this, the demonstrations that, and so on and so forth. But they have not addressed the information Raila gave us. They have not addressed it head on, which will force people to believe, at least those who don't believe, that the information is correct. Because if that information was not correct, there are so many ways of dealing with it. And now the country called Kenya enters very dangerous territory. You see what is happening here. is that the government is running out of time. That is the reality. And meanwhile, the Azimio protests are gathering momentum, and they are gathering support. This is the precise point where people make desperate moves, which are usually, more often than not, the wrong moves. Okay? And that is why I'm saying, as a country, we're entering a very dangerous phase of this campaign for electoral justice in Kenya. Because that's what all this is, in case you didn't know. And in case you haven't noticed, all the cards Azimio are playing are effective. What UDA is playing back is not effective all the time. In fact, it is not effective most of the time. And you can clearly tell from the body language of the UDA fellows, the UDA leaders, that kimeumana. That should be clear. Bottom line, so far this is one-sided. Of course, it's not too late. Of course, UDA can do something at the last minute, and change this thing, reverse their defeat so far. But in my opinion, that is like Manchester United being 7 goals down, and then a Man U fan shouts, "Come on, Man U, 8 quick goals." Come on, Man U, you can do it. 8 quick goals, and we have this one. That is what the situation is, from where I sit. And of course I could be wrong, but that is the way I'm reading it. Now, weekly intelligence briefings number 102 is late, but it's going to be released in the next few hours. And I've decided, because I was late, to extend our offer for a few more hours. So please rush and take advantage of it. The latest WIB, in fact, let me not say anything. Let's be fair. Just make sure you get it. You can see details of that special offer on your screens right now. Take full advantage of it. Rush, because it is ending. Now, in summary, as we head to Monday, we are now in the weekend. As we head to Monday, another public holiday, there are a lot of things that are going to happen between now and Monday. You can be sure of that. Because I hope I've painted the grim picture, the picture of desperation that is here. That something has to be done. And this is not going to be an easy time for Kenya, I'm afraid. But that's the way it is. One of you asked me the other day, where in the bridge we are. I've been talking about a bridge that we have to cross. I started talking about this even before the elections. Somebody was asking me where we are in the bridge. Actually, we're just now approaching the middle of the bridge. We still have a long way to go. And now we're entering very dangerous territory. I really wish I had better news. I really do. But that's how I read it. I just hope I'm wrong. Kwa sababu hiyo daraja, wacha tu. But cross it we must. And we must all pray that we're going to make it to the other side. There's no guarantee that anybody will make it. That's how serious things are. We have to pray that Almighty God will preserve us for us to serve Him, so that we emerge on the other side. Until next time, this is Chris. Kumekucha.